The battle began with silence. For a moment, both fleets hung motionless in the void. 8 Krex raider ships facing 3 human destroyers across a distance measured in thousands of kilometers. The Krex had spread into their standard attack formation, a pattern that had worked against hundreds of defenseless merchant vessels and diplomatic ships, but these were not defenseless. Pray, Admiral Rodriguez aboard the Shackleton watched his tactical display with the calm of someone who had spent 30 years learning to read the ebb and flow of combat. The Krex formation told him everything he needed to know about their tactics. They relied on overwhelming firepower and intimidation, attacking in groups to break enemy morale before closing for the kill. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, the Krex are charging their weapons. Energy signatures suggest plasma cannons, standard raider configuration. Understood. All ships, remember the mission priorities: disable the raiders, protect the escape pods, and minimize Villani casualties. The Krex made their choice when they refused to surrender. Captain Mitchell aboard the Wellington felt the familiar calm that came before action. Around him, his bridge crew worked with the precise efficiency that came from years of training in Earth's most demanding environments. These were men and women who had learned their skills in the asteroid fields of the solar system, dodging debris that moved faster than bullets. Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported his gunnery officer. Target their engines first. Dead ships can't hurt the prisoners. The Krex attacked with their typical brutality, 8 ships firing simultaneously at the 3 human vessels. Plasma bolts streaked across space like angry red stars, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a small building. The human ships danced where other species built vessels for comfort and efficiency. Humans had designed ships that could move like living things. The Wellington twisted sideways, its hull rotating as it dove beneath the plasma barrage. The Mandela accelerated straight up, using the gravitational pull of a distant asteroid to slingshot around the attack. The Shackleton did something no sane ship designer would have thought possible. It flew directly into the plasma fire, its reinforced shields deflecting the energy while its guns locked onto the Krex vessels. Direct hit on Raider 3, reported the Wellington's gunnery officer. Their engine is dead. Raider 5 is breaking formation, added the Mandela's tactical officer. They're trying to flank us. Let them try, Captain Thompson replied grimly. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belt, where 3-dimensional thinking and split-second reflexes meant the difference between life and death. Helm, bring us about. Let's show them how we hunt in the belt. The Krex had expected their enemies to fight like every other galactic species, ships staying at long range, exchanging fire while maneuvering cautiously to avoid damage. Instead, the humans closed the distance at speeds that should have been impossible for vessels of their size. Krex Captain Vexkar watched in growing alarm as the unknown ships moved through his formation like sharks through a school of fish. His raiders were firing everything they had, but somehow their targets kept slipping away at the last second, as if the enemy could predict where each shot would land. What species are these? He snarled at his sensor operator. Their ships move like fighters, not capital vessels. Unknown, Captain. Their technology doesn't match anything in our databases. Then we'll board one and find out. Signal Raiders 4 and 7 to disable the smallest ship. We'll take prisoners. But Vexkar had made a crucial mistake. He assumed the humans were fighting like his people fought, with the goal of victory at any cost. In reality, the humans were fighting a much more complex battle. Every move they made was calculated not just to destroy the raiders, but to position themselves to protect the scattered Villani escape pods. Lieutenant Commander Park aboard. The Wellington was coordinating the rescue operation even as the battle raged around them. Captain, I'm tracking 17 escape pods scattered across a 50,000-kilometer area. Some of them are taking damage from stray fire. Then we end this quickly, Mitchell replied. All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel. Take out their leader, and the rest might scatter. The 3 human ships moved into a formation that would have been impossible for vessels designed by any other species. They flew so close together that their shield harmonics actually overlapped, creating a combined defensive barrier while allowing each ship to cover the other's blind spots. The Krex command ship, a massive vessel covered in weapon emplacements and armor plates, found itself under attack from 3 directions simultaneously. Vexkar's confidence evaporated as he watched his shields collapse under the focused fire of weapons that hit harder than anything he had ever encountered. "Return fire," he screamed. "All weapons target the lead ship." But when the smoke cleared from this plasma barrage, the human ship was still there, its hull scarred but intact. Worse, it was now close enough that Vexkar could see details of its construction through his viewports. The enemy vessel was built like a weapon, all angles and armor plating, with gun ports that glowed with barely contained energy. "Captain," his tactical officer reported with barely concealed terror, "their hull composition is unknown. It's absorbing our plasma fire like it was designed specifically to counter our weapons." Vexkar was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. These ships weren't merchants or diplomats. They were warships, built by a species that understood violence in ways his people had never imagined aboard the Shackleton. Admiral Rodriguez was coordinating the rescue of the Villani escape pods while his ships systematically dismantled the Krex formation. "Medical teams, prepare for alien casualties. The Villani physiology is fragile by our standards." Dr. Watson and her medical teams were already suited up and ready to deploy to the rescue shuttles. They had studied the available data on Villani, biology and prepared treatment, protocols for beings whose bones were hollow and whose organs were adapted for low gravity and thin atmosphere. "Admiral," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving transmissions from the escape pods. They're speaking in the same language as the original distress signal. Should I respond?" "Put me through to their senior officer." Captain Zephyr's voice came through the translation matrix, weak but filled with desperate hope. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Zephyr of the Gentle Current. Are you here to help us?" Admiral Rodriguez had rehearsed this moment during the journey, knowing that first contact between humans and alien species would happen in the midst of battle. "Captain Zephyr, this is Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress signal and came as quickly as we could. Hold position, we're going to get you out of there." There was a long pause before Zephyr responded. "Earth, I have never heard of your species, but thank you. Thank you for coming." The battle was turning into a rout. 3 more Krex ships had lost their engines to precisely targeted fire, and another had lost its weapon systems entirely. The human ships moved through space like dancers, each maneuver calculated to maximum effect while minimizing risk to the scattered prisoners. Master, Sergeant Valdez and her Marines were already boarding the rescue shuttles, prepared to assist with the evacuation of the Villani pods. Each Marine carried emergency medical supplies and portable life support systems designed to accommodate alien physiology. "Remember," she told her squad as they sealed their armor, "these people are refugees, not combatants. They've been through hell, so we treat them gentle. But stay alert. We don't know if any Krex managed to board their escape pods." The first rescue shuttle reached Captain Zephyr's pod within minutes of the first gun exchange. When the airlock opened and Zephyr saw her rescuers, she could barely believe her eyes. The humans were enormous by Villani standards, nearly twice her height and built like the predators from her homeworld's ancient past. Their armor was scarred from battle, and they moved with the controlled precision of professional warriors. But when the lead Marine removed his helmet and knelt down to her level, his eyes were kind. "Ma'am, I'm Sergeant Miller, Earth Defense Force. Are you injured?" Zephyr's forearms trembled as she tried to respond. We thought we were going to die." "How did you know to come?" "Your distress signal reached our listening posts. We came as soon as we could." Miller carefully helped her to her feet, his massive hands gentle despite their obvious strength. "We're going to get you and your crew to safety. But first we need to make sure you're not hurt." As the rescue operation continued, the remaining Krex raiders found themselves facing a choice they had never encountered before: surrender or be destroyed by enemies who clearly outmatched them in every category that mattered. 3 raiders chose to run, their damaged ships limping away into hyperspace. 2 more chose to fight to the end, their captains too proud or too stupid to recognize their defeat. Those 2 ships were eliminated with surgical precision, their crews given every opportunity to surrender. Before the human ships opened fire with weapons that reduced the raider vessels to expanding clouds of debris, Captain Mitchell stood on his bridge, watching as the last Krek ship exploded in a brief flash of light against the starfield. Around him, his crew worked to coordinate the ongoing rescue operation. 17 Villani Escape. The Wellington sliced through hyperspace like a blade through dark water, its hull humming with barely contained energy. Captain James Mitchell walked the corridors of his ship, observing his crew as they prepared for humanity's first military engagement beyond their solar system. In the armory, Master Sergeant Rosa Valdez was conducting weapon checks with her Marines. Each human soldier stood nearly 2 meters tall, their bodies dense with muscle developed under Earth's heavy gravity. Their powered armor, designed to function in environments that would kill most galactic species, gleamed under the harsh lights. "Remember," Valdez told her squad, "we don't know exactly what these Kreks look like or how they fight, but we do know they're raiders who prey on peaceful ships. That tells us everything we need to know about their character." Private Chung raised his hand. "Sarge, what if they're bigger than us?" Valdez smiled grimly. "Son, back on Earth, we've got creatures that weigh 20 tons and can run faster than our ground vehicles. Size isn't everything. It's about how you use what you've got." Meanwhile, on the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park was analyzing every scrap of data they had collected about the Kreks from intercepted communications. What she found disturbed her. "Captain," she reported, "I've been studying the Kreks raider tactics based on previous attacks. They typically disable ships, board them, and take the crews alive for the slave markets." "What, sir?" "The casualty reports from ships that fought back show something troubling." Mitchell looked up from his tactical display. "What is it, Sarah?" "The Kreks don't just kill those who resist, sir. They seem to enjoy it. Multiple reports describe excessive brutality, torture. These aren't just pirates looking for easy money. They're sadists." The captain's jaw tightened. Throughout human history, his species had faced monsters like this before. The response was always the same: such evil could not be reasoned with. Only stop. Dr. Emily Watson, the ship's xenobiologist, was in her lab studying what little information they had about Villani physiology. The diplomatic species appeared to be fragile by human standards, with hollow bones like birds and delicate features evolved for a low-gravity world. They would be helpless against the kind of violence the Kreks specialized in. "Captain," she called through the intercom, "I'm uploading medical data to sickbay. If we rescue survivors, they'll need very careful handling. Their bones are about as strong as glass compared to ours." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Marcus Webb monitored the fusion reactors that powered their faster-than-light journey. The technology was humanity's latest achievement, based on principles discovered by studying the cosmic radiation that bombarded Earth from space. Other species might have considered such radiation deadly, but humans had learned to harness it. "Chief," called Petty Officer Kim, "the power output is steady, but these readings are unlike anything we've seen before." Webb nodded, watching the energy levels climb as they pushed their ships harder than they had ever been pushed before. "That's because we're not just traveling through space, Kim, we're traveling through time itself, racing against death." Aboard the Mandela, Captain Lisa Thompson was conducting combat drills with her crew. The ship's weapon systems were based on technologies that other species considered too dangerous to weaponize: focused particle beams that could punch through any known armor, and kinetic projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic fields. "All stations, report readiness," she commanded. "Weapons are charged and ready." "Captain," reported the gunnery officer, "targeting computers are calibrated for unknown vessel configurations. Navigation confirms we're on course and on schedule," added the helmsman. "Medical Bay is prepared for both human and alien casualties. The ship's doctor reported. Captain Thompson nodded with satisfaction. Humanity might be new to space warfare, but they were not new to war itself. Every human aboard these ships descended from a species that had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, pandemics, and countless other catastrophes that would have wiped out less resilient life forms on the Shackleton. Admiral Rodriguez stood before a holographic display showing the tactical situation they expected to face. 3 human ships against an estimated 8 Krex raiders. The odds seemed poor, but the Admiral had faced worse odds during the water wars on Earth 30 years ago. Admiral, his aide approached, we're receiving regular updates from the monitoring station. The Villani ship is still transmitting, but their power is fading fast. Rodriguez studied the tactical data, his mind working through possible scenarios. What's our weapons advantage? Significant, sir. Our main guns can punch through any known pirate armor. Our shields are designed to withstand solar flares and cosmic radiation. But sir, the aide hesitated. Speak freely. The Krex have been raiding in this sector for months. They must know the area better than we do. They might have reinforcements nearby. The Admiral smiled coldly. Then they'll learn what happens when you threaten innocents while humans are watching. As the hours passed, the human fleet drew closer to its destination. In the mess halls, crew members shared quiet meals, each lost in their own thoughts about what lay ahead. They were about to make first contact with alien species, but not in the way humanity had always imagined. Instead of peaceful meetings and cultural exchanges, their first hello would be spoken with weapons fire. Dr. Sarah Chun, the fleet's chief psychologist, moved through the ships, checking on crew morale. What she found reassured her. Despite facing the unknown, the humans showed no signs of panic or hesitation. If anything, they seemed grimly determined, like their ancestors who had sailed unknown oceans or ventured into hostile wilderness. How are you feeling about all this? She asked Lieutenant Commander Park during a brief break on the bridge. Park considered the question carefully. Scared, she admitted. But also proud, I guess. For thousands of years, humans dreamed of reaching the stars. We imagined meeting other species, learning from them, becoming part of something bigger. We never imagined that our first meeting would be because someone needed our help. But maybe that's exactly who we're supposed to be. In the final hours before arrival, the fleet conducted one last series of combat simulations. The holographic displays showed virtual Krex ships attacking the human vessels, forcing the crews to practice their responses under pressure. What became clear during these exercises was that human ships move differently than anything else. In known space, where other species designed vessels for efficiency and comfort, humans had built ships that could twist and dive like fighter aircraft. That could withstand tremendous acceleration forces, and that could operate in conditions that would cripple vessels designed for civilized space. The Krex won't expect us to fight like this, observed Captain Mitchell as he watched his ship perform maneuvers. That would have killed any crew not evolved under heavy gravity. They're used to attacking prey that can't fight back, agreed Admiral Rodriguez. Over the communication channel. They've probably never faced anyone willing to actually hunt them. As they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the combat zone, the 3 human ships immediately began scanning for the distress signal. What they found painted a grim picture on their tactical displays. The gentle current hung dead in space, its hull scarred and blackened. Around it, like vultures circling carrion, 8 Krex raider ships moved in lazy patterns. Long-range sensors showed that several escape pods had been deployed from the Villani ship, but the Krex were systematically capturing them one by one. My God, whispered the communications officer aboard the Wellington. They're not just taking prisoners. They're playing with them. The sensor readings showed Krex ships firing warning shots near the escape pods, forcing them to change course repeatedly. Wearing down their life support systems through a cruel game of cat and mouse? Admiral? Rodriguez's voice cut through the communication channels, cold as deep space. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. We have confirmed hostile action against helpless civilians. Rules of engagement are now in effect. We will give the Krex one chance to surrender and release their prisoners. If they refuse, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Every human aboard the three ships understood. Their species had faced monsters before throughout their long and violent history. They had learned that sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something the monster feared. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "the Krex ships are detecting us. They're moving into attack formation." Through the communication arrays, the Krex sent a message in their harsh, clicking language. When the translation came through, it was exactly what the humans expected. Arrogant demands for the newcomers to leave or face destruction. Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to respond. But he spoke in perfect galactic standard, a language he had learned specifically for this moment. "This is Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. You are attacking helpless civilians. Release your prisoners immediately and withdraw, or we will consider you hostile combatants." The response came quickly, mocking laughter and a crude description of what the Krex intended to do to any species foolish enough to challenge them. "Admiral." Captain Mitchell's voice was steady over the communication channel. "All ships report ready for combat. Weapons are charged, shields are up, and crew are at battle stations." Captain Zephyr's forearms trembled as she watched the main display of her ship, the Gentle Current. The elegant vessel that had once been the pride of the Villani diplomatic fleet now drifted helplessly through space, its hull scarred and blackened from repeated plasma strikes. "Captain, the Krex raiders are closing in again," reported Lieutenant Whispersong, her melodic voice cracking with fear. "Their ships are moving into attack formation." Zephyr's large, luminous eyes reflected the red warning lights that bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. Around her, the crew of peaceful explorers and diplomats worked frantically at their stations, trying to coax more power from the dying systems. They were scientists, artists, and negotiators, not warriors. Their species, the Villani, had known peace for over 3,000 years. How long until the engines are back online? Zephyr asked, already knowing the answer would not bring comfort. Engineer Soft Touch looked up from his console, his feathered crest drooping with exhaustion. "The plasma conduits are completely fried, Captain. Even if we had the materials to repair them, it would take days." "And the raiders?" He didn't need to finish. They all knew the Krex raiders would not wait. These brutal pirates had been hunting diplomatic vessels for months, capturing crews to sell as slaves and stripping ships of valuable technology. The Gentle Current was exactly the kind of prize they sought. Through the viewport, Zephyr could see the menacing shapes of 3 Krex attack vessels approaching. Their ships were ugly things, covered in spikes and weapon ports, built for one purpose only: destruction. They moved with predatory grace through the void, like ancient sea monsters closing in on helpless prey. "Captain," Communications Officer's sweet voice called out, "I'm detecting a massive energy buildup in their forward weapons. They're preparing to fire again." Zephyr closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of responsibility for her crew of 47 souls. They had been returning from a successful peace negotiation between 2 warring systems when the Krex had ambushed them in this remote sector. Now they were trapped light years from the nearest Galactic Council patrol route. "Send out a distress signal on all frequencies," she ordered. "Include our coordinates and the nature of our situation." Sweet Voice's delicate fingers danced over her console. "Signal transmitted, Captain, but there are no council ships within range to receive it. The message will just echo into the void." The ship shuddered as another plasma blast struck their weakened shields. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and the lights flickered ominously. Through the intercom, Zephyr could hear the panicked sounds of her crew trying to manage emergency repairs. "Captain," Whispersong reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "shields are down to 8%. One more direct hit and—" The unspoken truth hung heavy in the recycled air. Without shields, the Gentle Current would be completely defenseless. The Krex would board their ship, and the nightmare would truly begin. Zephyr made a decision that went against everything her peaceful nature stood for. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency evacuation to the escape pods." We cannot save the ship, but perhaps we can save ourselves. As her crew began the heartbreaking process of abandoning their home among the stars, Zephyr remained on the bridge, continuing to transmit their distress signal. She knew it was probably useless. This sector was notorious for being empty of friendly vessels. But as long as the communications array had power, she would keep trying. The distress signal pulsed outward at the speed of light, carrying a simple message in the common galactic language. This is Captain Zephyr of the diplomatic vessel Gentle Current. We are under attack by Krex raiders at coordinates 127.4 by 89.2 by 15.8. Our engines are disabled. Shields failing. We are a peaceful scientific mission carrying no weapons. Requesting immediate assistance. Please, if anyone receives this message, help us. Unknown to Captain Zephyr and her crew, that message traveled far beyond what they could have imagined. It passed through several relay stations, was picked up by automated listening posts, and eventually reached a sector of space that most galactic citizens avoided, a region marked on star charts with warnings about dangerous indigenous species and extreme planetary conditions unsuitable for civilized life. The signal reached Earth. In the Deep Space Monitoring Station floating in orbit around Luna, Senior Communications Analyst Maria Santos was finishing her night shift when an unusual transmission caught her attention. She had been monitoring space communications for 15 years, but this was different. It wasn't the usual chatter between merchant vessels or routine patrol reports from Earth's growing fleet. "Emergency distress signal," she muttered, leaning forward in her chair. "From someone called ... Villani?" She had never heard of that species before, which was unusual. Earth's databases contained information on most of the known galactic civilizations, collected through decades of careful observation and covert intelligence gathering. Maria quickly ran the signal through the translation matrix, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she worked. When the translation appeared on her screen, her blood ran cold. Pirates attacking a diplomatic vessel. Peaceful scientists under assault. A desperate plea for help echoing through the void. She immediately opened a priority communication channel to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, she was speaking directly to Admiral Chun Rodriguez, commander of the human space fleet. "Admiral, we've intercepted a distress signal from an unknown species. They're under attack by something called Krex raiders. The transmission suggests they're completely defenseless." Admiral Rodriguez studied the data on his personal tablet, his weathered face grave. "How far away are they?" "Approximately 12 light-years, sir." "In the Kepler sector?" The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Earth's fleet was still relatively small compared to what intelligence suggested other galactic powers possessed. Humanity had only recently developed faster-than-light travel, and they had been careful to keep their presence hidden while they learned about the galaxy's politics and dangers. But 12 light-years was within range of their newest ships, and the message was clear: innocent beings were about to die if no one helped them. "Maria, I want you to keep monitoring that signal. Get me everything you can about these Villani and the Krex raiders. I'm calling an emergency session of the Defense Council." Within an hour, Earth's leadership had assembled in the secure conference room beneath Defense Command. President Elena Vasquez, Admiral Rodriguez, General Marcus Thompson, and Director Sarah Kim of Intelligence Services sat around a holographic display showing the location of the distress signal. "What do we know?" President Vasquez asked. Director Kim activated the display, showing star charts and intelligence reports. The Villani appear to be a peaceful species focused on diplomacy and science. No military to speak of. The Krex, on the other hand, are raiders and slavers. They've been attacking ships throughout that sector for months. General Thompson leaned forward. "How many ships do we estimate the Krex have in that area?" "Intelligence suggests a small fleet, maybe 6 to 8 attack vessels. Nothing that our newest destroyers couldn't handle." Admiral Rodriguez brought up technical specifications on the display. "The Wellington, Mandela, and Shackleton are our most advanced ships. They're designed for deep space operations and equipped with our latest weapons and defensive systems. If we're going to help these people, those are our best option. President Vasquez stared at the display, knowing that this decision would mark humanity's first official intervention in galactic affairs. For decades, they had watched from the shadows, learning and preparing. But now, innocent lives hung in the balance. Admiral, how long would it take to reach them? With our fastest ships at maximum FTL speed, about 18 hours. But, Madame President, we need to consider the implications. This would be our first open contact with alien species. Once we reveal ourselves, There's no going back, the President finished. I understand, Admiral. But we cannot stand by and watch innocent people die when we have the power to help them. How many crew would we be putting at risk? Each destroyer has a crew of 200, 3 ships, 600 people total. Director Kim cleared her throat. Madam President, there's something else to consider. According to our intelligence, most galactic species consider Earth a death world, a planet. So dangerous that any species evolved here would be considered extremely hardy and formidable. They don't know we exist yet, but when they find out, they might fear us, General Thompson said grimly. President Vasquez stood up, walking to the large window that showed Earth turning slowly below. Then we'll just have to prove that being strong doesn't mean being cruel. Admiral, you have authorization to deploy the fleet. Rescue those people. Yes, Madam President. I'll lead the mission personally. As alarms began to sound throughout Earth's orbital shipyards, thousands of crew members rushed to their stations. The 3 most advanced starships in human history powered up their reactors and began their final pre-flight checks. These vessels represented the pinnacle of human engineering, fast, heavily armed, and equipped with technology that their creators hoped would be enough to make a difference. Captain James Mitchell of the Wellington stood on his bridge, watching Earth shrink away through the main viewer as the small fleet axle